How quickly must an MSP change their entire model to a managed detection and response offering to stay competitive and create new revenue opportunities?
If an MSP hasn't done that yet, I don't know how much longer they can wait, especially if they have customers that reside in the big R, the highly regulated industries like banking, financial services, legal, healthcare, manufacturing, government, education, those types of things. So if MSPs have those types of organizations in their Rolodex, or maybe their plans for 2026 is they want to start targeting these organizations in those types of sectors, MDR is critical and managed detection response.
Hi, welcome back to the Security Strategist podcast, your blueprint for evolving cybersecurity. My name is Richard Stiennon, and I will be your host for this episode. I'm the Chief Research Analyst at IT Harvest, an author, and a trusted advisor to vendors, VCs, and private equity firms. Today, we have Stefanie Hammond, head nerd at N-able, and Jim Waggoner, Vice President of Product Management at N-able. This episode will discuss managed service providers and how to handle threats, address the talent crisis, and protect your profit. Welcome to the show, Stefanie and Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. How are you doing, Richard?
I'm doing great. And it's great to have you on. Tell us a little bit about, each of you tell us a little bit about who you are. Stefanie, how you became head nerd. Jim, how you got to where you are.
Want to go first, Jim?
Oh, no, all you, Stefanie. Oh. How are you?
You're the one with the title. Thanks, Richard, for having Jim and I on your podcast. As you said, I am part of the head nerd team at N-able. And what that means is we are a small team. There's 8 of us, and we're all subject matter experts in our chosen area. And our goal is to help MSPs, pre-sales, post-sales, in enablement situations. And our mandate is really to provide, kind of deep technical insights, deep business insights, and coaching wherever it's needed. I always joke that I'm the one that doesn't belong because I'm non-technical. I am I focus on all things MSP growth related because I've been with N-able for 21 years. And so I've been in sales, I've been in account management, a couple of other different roles. And then I moved into the head nerd role about 5 years ago now because they wanted someone to help our MSPs with their packaging and their pricing and their go-to-market strategies. Basically, how do they make money and grow their business?
Got it. And Jim?
Yeah, but let me comment on Stefanie. Just at N-able, the role that she's in and all the head nerds, I think is really, really unique for N-able since I've been in this industry for almost 3 decades. But what's really unique about it is that N-able really cares about the business that our partner's in and how they're going to be successful. And so we have a group that will take all the technology we have and really try to understand not necessarily the technology itself, but what are the solutions that our partners can provide to help them become more successful. They'll do webinars and training. There'll be that interaction between product management, which I'm in, and then the customers to make sure that we understand each other. So it's absolutely phenomenal what the team is doing. Stefanie is one of the first head nerds I met. At first I was like, head nerd, what the heck's a head nerd? But then I saw that her focus on solutions as opposed to products, I just think was phenomenal. So for myself, I've been in cybersecurity now, like I said, for 3 decades. I've worked at some really big companies. So I'm in the product management team, product solutions. So I'm one of the executives here, focused on security at N-able. My focus here is with the Adlumin, where we're offering services, managed detection response services, as well as XDR as a platform. So I've been protecting customers for all my career and will continue to do so, helping make sure that the adversaries, the threats out there trying to take them down, don't get a chance, or at least we minimize it and make our customers feel good about it.
Cool. Before we dig into my questions, I think we should level set on definition because we're talking about security. But we're also talking about MSPs, managed service providers, which is a big gamut of services that they could offer. And so I guess, what do you think of as a typical MSP? Is it just desktop support? Is it, physical device support?
From my point of view, because I come from the security point of view or cybersecurity point of view, all of the customers that we talk to, even ones that use our products, security products and offer services, will self-identify themselves as an MSP. The other two terms that are out there are MSSP, so the security services provider, and then the MDR, managed detection response. But if you ask them, what are they? They all self-identify as an MSP. So for my branch of the business, I deal with those who are managing the security of their customers, as well as doing security operations or have a SOC for those customers or use our services. So that's the way I view it. Now, Stefanie may have a different view when she sees her MSPs.
I agree with your definition, Jim, but the thing that I always caution when I'm working with MSPs is please don't use that term in your marketing. Please don't use that term when you're talking to customers, because that's an industry term that we know and we understand. But I always remind our partners, our MSPs, like, think about who you are engaging with. For the most part, unless we're talking about like co-managed IT services, we're talking with non-technical business owners that don't live in the world that we live in. So yes, I agree with Jim's definition of MSPs, but basically it's anybody providing business, networking, security, compliance, consulting support to businesses that don't have those resources in-house.
Okay, good. That allows me to jump into my questions. So how quickly must an MSP change their entire model to a managed detection and response offering to stay competitive and create new revenue opportunities? Because obviously that's the trend.
It is. And if an MSP, and I'm just going to use that term because I'm just going to continue with the industry term. If an MSP hasn't done that yet, I don't know how much longer they can wait, especially if they have customers that reside in what I call kind of the big R, the highly regulated industries like banking, financial services, legal, healthcare, manufacturing, government, education, those types of things. So if MSPs have those types of organizations in their Rolodex, or maybe their plans for 2026 is they want to start targeting these organizations in those types of sectors, MDR is critical, and managed detection response. It's critical. It's not a nice to offer. It is actually a must offer type of service for those MSPs, because when you think about, again, I'm always like, think about who you're trying to sell to, think about who you're engaging with. Organizations that operate in those types of industries, they're exposed to a higher degree of risk than organizations that don't operate in those highly regulated industries, right? And so due to the type of data that they're collecting, the type of data that they're storing, that they're interacting with, that their employees are using, that is data that would be extremely attractive and profitable to adversaries. And so if you are dealing with those types of clients because of that increased risk, MSPs really need to adopt MDR into their security stack and standardize their customers on it. And that's just to remain competitive, so they don't get left behind. But you talked about how to maximize revenue opportunities off of MDR, which is, kind of my baby, my bread and butter, what I talk about every day. MDR, and I'm going to say this, doesn't matter if we are any security tool set that comes out. We shouldn't be selling any security tool set as a standalone service. And I think that's a big challenge that MSPs have, just given their background. They're highly technical. They know all the features. They know all the, they can tell you all the technical behind the scenes tidbits and all that kind of stuff. Your customer, your average customer doesn't care about that. I don't really care about your new tech tool. So in order to make money off of MDR, I always say you should be incorporating any security tool set into like a multi-layered advanced cybersecurity package, along with other threat prevention, other threat detection services. We also want to make sure we're including, business resiliency and recovery capabilities as well. Here I'm thinking about backup and data protection services. So yes, I know your question was kind of focusing on MDR. Do we need to kind of emerge, talk about MDR? But I don't talk about single silo tech stacks. For true business resiliency, which is the message that I constantly give when I'm talking to MSPs from a sales and marketing perspective. You need to include other security services around that. They need to be bundled and sold together. And then that turns, again, the profitability and the revenue standpoint, that turns MDR from being just a tool sale, because you can only mark up a tool so much, right? And make money off of it, into that value-based package sale that you can charge a much higher fee for.
I'm concerned that a MSP who might be doing, hardware lifecycle management, right? They lease you the equipment, they take it away after 3 years and erase all the data from it and give you a new machine, that they may not want to accept the 24/7 responsibility of being in the MDR space.
Yeah, that's the trend that you see is they first come, they'll talk about it being break fix, or they'll talk about, in their experience where they're taking care of the hardware, maybe add some business productivity software on top of it. That usually gets them into security. We're selling them security. That quickly gets them into deploying the security, day-to-day management of the security. And then the evolution is, okay, now let me not just respond to alerts, but also let me look at it and try to understand, number one, is there a threat there? Is there actions I need to take? Do I need to remediate? Do I need to contain? And the overall change of security posture. So it becomes a very maturity life cycle when you get to the security. And that's where we would come in, is if customers, our partners, our MSPs don't want to do it themselves, then we can offer services that, well, hey, we can do it for you now. Maybe over time we co-manage it, do it together. And at some point in time, you want to do it on your own, and we'll help migrate them or work them through that journey. See, Stefanie agrees. She's like, check out the nod. She's like, yeah. All right.
Yeah, I get that. So what do you think the most urgent internal security investment an MSP should make today to protect their business and stop an attack from spreading to their entire client base?
I want to take that one first. So I'm in a really cool position because our managed detection and response team will use our own software, our own platform. And as they're involved in investigations, you get to see what we call RCA, root cause analysis, of how did a threat get in? How did it propagate? What were they trying to do? And maybe after a while, if you see enough of it, you can kind of figure out who it is. But we see a lot of attacks. Ransomware is really popular right now, of course, and ransomware is evolving and AI is evolving. But ultimately, the question, and when you look at to see what's happening, it comes down to identity, specifically credentials. The keys to the kingdom are being laid around, and someone gets the keys, they open up the kingdom, the gate, the portcullis opens up, and everyone goes in. But to put it more practical means, a bad habit that I've seen from our partners is they're managing, let's say, 20 customers, 30 customers, and they need to log in and do tasks on a routine basis. And to make it easier for themselves, they're using a password, admin at mycompany.com, and they use it everywhere. And once you use it, and you don't change it, you don't rotate your credentials or your passwords, then once you're cracked one place, they're all cracked open. So if I were to look at a single technology, a single thing to do, it would be, okay, get a feel for the identities or the credentials in the environment and rotate them. Just follow your best practices of rotating them, put in MFAs, do least privilege access. At the basic minimum is begin to track the identities or the credentials that are used for your employees that are maintaining your partner. So that would be my first thing.
Unique credentials for
unique credentials. Yes. Thank you for that. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, my wife asked me what my password was the other day for some whatever website. I'm like, I don't know. I have it unique and it's shared and it's in a secure location, and that it's just, you're not supposed to memorize them anymore. It can no longer be admin. So that's right. Unique.
Yeah. And it's like, it's do as I say, don't do as I do. I think a lot of times is what you're saying there, Jim. Obviously being, on the more technical side of things, like, MSPs know what needs to be done. And ideally they're having those conversations with their customers around, best practices around, security, protecting identities. that advice they need to be following themselves. So, right.
That's
And
exactly right.
yeah. And so, from my standpoint, like we talk about, program design, program building, a key feature in any good cyber program, business resiliency program is, security awareness training. MSPs are providing that to their customers, but, you don't want to forget your own internal employees as well, right? So that's kind of like, whatever you're talking about out there, you got to make sure that your own house is in order as well.
Totally. I interviewed 16 CISOs for a book I wrote on secure cloud transformation. And when I asked them that question, across the board, they said, before you embark on this kind of transformation, get identity right. And, so you got to rationalize it. You got to make sure you've got a set of tools that do the job. And you got to know, who's authorized to do what.
Yeah. It's not so much hacking in, they're just logging in.
Yeah.
So
It's like, and it's, yes, that is exactly right. You don't have to hack in once you have it. We did a stat the other day. We published a report that showed like 55% of the attacks that we were seeing all came in through identity. So it's like good stat.
Yeah, definitely. Let's change the conversation to AI strategy. What advice can help develop an AI strategy that also improves efficiency and profit margins to counter the ongoing pressure of the cyber talent shortage that we're experiencing?
Yeah, so first crack, I'm looking at it. So I look at what's happening, and I'm seeing it internally here at Enable when we're talking about efficiency. All of us are getting into it. From a product management perspective, I'm saying, okay, I used to do research on my customers, competitors, companies, and I used to do this manually by looking at websites, looking at web pages, and now just using AI, I'm able to do a lot of research really efficiently, really within minutes to hours as opposed to days to weeks. But really what it came down to for me was a reflection of where am I spending a lot of time that might be done more through an automated way, something a little bit easier. I think that's what our customers need to do is they need to ask themselves, okay, what am I doing in my day to day that I can look to automate? And then make sure they get comfortable with leveraging off of AI and understanding the nomenclature since this is the way the world is turning. But the other thing that we're suggesting is like, listen, we're doing a lot of that already as part of our detection. So in our platform, of all the telemetry and security alerts that come in, we process something like 90% of them are all processed automatically, provisioned or assessed, determine if it's malicious or not, all leveraging off of AI. So if you're not going to do it yourself, then, leverage off the companies that are looking to automate the incident response, the managed detection response, all leveraging off of AI. And Steph, I don't know, you got something else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just know like kind of how you use it in your day to day, and it's kind of how I use it and how I'm trying to have the conversations with our MSPs is from a sales and marketing perspective. And, one of the things that I do as part of my role is I hold a monthly sales and marketing book club meeting. And it's been phenomenal. I love it. But one of the things where I've been using AI and I kind of encourage my partners with that is one of the big focuses this year is we talked about, please define MSP. And my answer was, please don't say that. I don't want to see that, those three little letters in your marketing or in your sales, in your pitch. I do not want that. And so it's really kind of talking about, well, and I don't want to hear MDR. I don't want to hear technical jargon or see technical jargon. We want to talk about outcomes. We want to talk about results. We want to talk about what we can help businesses achieve. And, the books that we've been reading this year have really been focusing on that marketing messaging and how do you differentiate yourself and how do we structure sales conversations? And AI has been phenomenal in helping me come up with MSP specific verbiage that, I would have come up with it on my own, but, I'm doing one book club a month. I'm writing masterclasses. I'm doing blogs. There's a lot of writing that's extracting a lot of creative juices from me. And AI has been instrumental in helping me come up with the wording a little bit more succinctly, a little bit more creatively than again, that's not a word. I just made it up. You can tell I'm
creatively.
Creatively. I just finished my book club meeting about an hour ago and we were talking about this. And so I tell MSPs, you don't have to do your sales and marketing alone, especially if you're by yourself. Like if you are a smaller MSP, you don't have a marketing team, you don't have a sales team, that does not give you an excuse to not focus on sales and marketing. You just have to figure it out, but leverage AI to help you with that messaging. It's been brilliant for me in that regards.
And one caveat I would make, and you probably might answer, I'm going to get in this answer, is that like with all technology trends, we do see it's helping all of us and we're using it to our advantage. But then we're going to apply it in areas where it really doesn't fit. People get too caught up in the wave and they're going to AI everything. You know, it's like, okay, about to make dinner. Let me get my AI and make dinner for me. It's like, all right, there's going to be some places that work.
Ingredients. What can I make with it? That is helpful.
But you need to question those ingredients because sometimes it'll add in things and you look at it and you're like, really?
That doesn't make sense.
That doesn't
you need to apply some common sense to the output.
That you do. You do need to vet it. You just can't copy and paste.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
No, absolutely.
Let's jump and let's briefly talk about compliance because it's both a driver and a massive headache. Tell me how an MSP should approach that.
Again, I talk about this quite a bit with our MSPs, and my message is that please don't look at it as a nuisance item. Please don't look at it as a business cost. If that's the way an MSP is perceiving it, they're going to miss out on some key potential market differentiation, from their competitors. And actually, if it's done well, and if you think about it in the right way, you can actually use it to unlock new revenue streams for your MSP. And you can use it to help increase your customer stickiness factor. You can use it to help deepen your client trust. You can use it to help improve your lifetime value of your clients because of that stickiness factor. But it's not something, and I always say, it's not as if you wake up in the morning and say, I got to go to Walmart and get me some CAS, some compliance as a service. Or it's not as if you wake up and say, hey, I want to start delivering this today. It is a mindset shift. There's work that goes into building a compliance program to get it off the ground, especially if this is something you're not fully comfortable with. So I think if you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, I don't want to offer it. I don't know enough about it. You need to educate yourself. You need to kind of, learn what is needed. It does require a little bit of ramp up, but it could be that next set of services. It could be that next set of revenue, that new revenue stream for your MSP, if you have the right mindset to adopt it.
I think I'd add in on that that's where the AI is really coming in. I get a lot of questions about compliance from customers who are partners who don't know what it is or if they should adopt a framework, and those who have very specific frameworks. Those on very specific frameworks, there are so many, I'll get a question, a vague question, and I'll pop it into my chat GPT or Copilot and say, what are they really trying to ask? And what would an answer look like? And just by doing that, I've learned a lot about the different frameworks. But to also mirror and amplify what Steph is saying was, if you don't have customers who have specific frameworks they care about, or regulations, GDPR, CMMC, whatever it might be, it's really good to follow the NIST standards as a framework by which you can engage your customers, where you can say, you know what, we're not going to try to, boil the ocean, solve world hunger here. Well, let's use this as a framework to have a conversation. Do you know what your security solutions are? Are you following some of these best practices like we talked about MFA? And you can create a maturity journey for them that might take years to accomplish, but allows you to have that constant engagement with them. And to Steph's original point is, don't see it as a hindrance, see it as something as helping your business and helping you engage and growing your revenue.
Cool. Makes sense. So let's look towards the future and think about what the next major disruptive technology or market change will be, say, over 3 to 5 years.
Oh, yeah. I can go first on this one. I thought about that a bit, and it's a message that I already conveyed is, I don't know. We are advancing so quickly with AI, and I'm seeing, if you kind of go back a little bit, there's been a major shortage in cybersecurity professionals over this last few years. We've been promoting this out, how there's security is complex, the number of solutions out there is complex, the threat actors are getting more complex. And now I just see we're at the very beginning where AI is taking a foothold and helping us all, both on the good side and the bad side. I would say that what's really going to become the big change in the next 3 to 5 years is, I believe that we'll solve that person problem. We're going to shift from what we're doing today and the shortages, and we're all going to be working in a more of an enhanced environment. And then we're going to have to evolve ourselves and move on to that next big thing. And I don't know what that next big thing is, but really it's fully embracing the AI and seeing how it's just everywhere. And we're evolving very, very quickly. Like we talked about the threat space. Threats used to go around the world in months, and then it became minutes or days, and then to minutes, then seconds. And now threats are constantly evolving. I think we're going to see a huge acceleration there, both on the offense side and the defensive side, where it's going to be a constant evolution.
Yeah, and then I'm taking a different route in terms of, market changes that I'm seeing in the next 3 to 5 years. And I'm starting to see it now because I'm getting questions on it. And that is, pricing and how MSPs should be pricing their programs. And, should I look at moving away from, the traditional kind of cost plus pricing model that I'm seeing a lot of MSPs, most MSPs do that today. And they're asking me questions around value-based pricing or outcomes-based pricing. So instead of charging, per device or per user, we tally up all of our software costs, we tally up all of our labor costs, then we, kind of mark it up and apply whatever, services contract margin we want to. That's the predominant way that MSPs, most MSPs that think about their pricing are doing it. And, I'm getting questions around, well, should I kind of maybe think about moving to value-based pricing, where we're pricing based on the business impact that we're able to provide, or the outcomes that we're able to provide, or some client goal that we're able to meet for them. And that's really where the MSP really works to kind of demonstrate that, they can help drive that tangible value. So that's a big one that I'm starting to see coming. I'm getting questions about it. And so that's going to be interesting in the next 3 to 5 years, how that goes.
Yeah, I like that. Changes coming our way. If you had to share a 60-second takeaway message for CIOs and CTOs and other IT decision makers who are listening, what would it be and why?
Forget about the technology that's out there. Forget about the new things. When it comes to security, get down to your basics. Understand your employees, understand the technology that you already have in place, but get down to identity, tracking the identity, knowing where you're at risk. And it's always going to come down to your employees. Make sure your employees are trained. Get them trained so that they don't click on links, so that they don't bypass security, so that they don't, let people in, physical security, let people in the door. Focus on that security awareness. And the more you can do, because the threatscape is always changing, the better your environment, the better your customers are going to be.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of piggyback on what Jim was saying there. And it's that whole idea of don't keep the status quo. There is this evolving threat landscape. There is this, the market's always changing, and status quo is going to leave you vulnerable. It's dangerous and it's going to hold you back. And I know a lot of the MSPs that I work with on a daily basis, they're busy. They're wearing multiple hats. They're getting pulled in many different directions. They get buried in the work they're performing. So I'm always kind of cautioning them, you got to pop your head up every once in a while and kind of take a gander of what's going on around you. Because if you're not cognizant of what's going on around you, you are going to lag behind. So, if you're not adopting the MDR, if you're not selling, security, if you're ignoring your about compliance, if you're not seeing that, the good MSPs are going to be evolving their pricing, and there's a lot of work that goes into evolving your pricing, you're going to become an extinct MSP in the next 5 years, I think.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Stefanie and Jim, for joining us today. Also, thank you to everyone listening. We hope you took a lot away from this podcast. For further information on what we've talked about, please head on over to n-able.com. We'll be back next week with another episode in our podcast series. Until then, make sure you subscribe to this podcast on all major platforms and follow the conversation on our socials at EM360Tech on Twitter and LinkedIn. And for more great daily content, head over to em360tech.com.